So now let's take a look at another example. Let's open up the toScope.dots HTML. And here we can see a very similar example where we've got the title for the shell and the customer again, but this time we're using dot syntax. Here we've got VM.title on line 6. Well, what's that doing? Well, let's take a look. We've got the shell controller here, and we've got a VM.title. That must mean there's a VM.title down in the scope, and there is, right here in line 29. So what we've done is VM stands for view model, just to give it a little abbreviation, and it's the views model, meaning all the different properties I'm going to put on scope, I would now put inside of this scope.vm. So I've got a title called shell title, and I could put like a name, an address, whatever else I might have, all in this area. So by using the dot up there, I now say vm.title. And likewise for the customer controller on line 7, then on line 9, I use vm.title for the customer. And again, because I haven't defined one down here inside the customer controller, notice there is no title inside of line 36, 7, or 8. Because I used it in the view though, it's actually going to create a vm.title property. Now there's already a VM object, we can see that on line 36, and it's got a name property. If I wanted to refer to that in the view, I'd say vm.name. So what does this all mean? Basically, I just added one extra layer, right? I've got this VM in here, this view model. Well, by doing that, let's see what happens when I run this code. So I open inside the browser, and instantly you're going to see slightly different behavior than we saw in the previous example. Remember the previous example, we'll go back real quick, and let's refresh. Notice we had shell title for all 4 properties when we started that. Well, in number 2, now we have shell title where we expected to see it, but we don't have a title in the other one. Well, why is there no title? Well, remember, this is the customer, and the customer has no title yet. We're just binding it to a property, and that property has not been set down inside the controller. So what happens if we type into the shell's title up top? Let's go ahead and type in John. Just what we'd expect. We get the VM title to be John for the shell, same thing for the parent VM title. Now let's go ahead and type in Papa for the title for the customer scope. No problem. And they stay in sync, so I can type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, everything's good. That's not the behavior we saw without the dots. What's happening here is the dots are allowing us to properly reference our objects, and it's just a good practice to get into with your controllers to always have a base model or a view model for your controller. So in this case, we put VM in there. Now you might want to call it something else, like inside the customer, maybe I actually have a customer object or an address object or something else like that. Basically whatever your model of your data is. So name it what you like, but by doing a scope dot syntax and then having an object hanging off it, you can avoid the problems we saw in the first example.